I'm Erin Brothers, Director of Music Ministry at Dixon United Methodist Church. Paul wrote a lot of letters. You might not consider him a poet, but he definitely had a way with words. The idea of discussing God as weak and foolish could make anyone uncomfortable. Divine flaws, I'm waiting for the lightning strike to come any moment. And Paul does talk about God's weakness and foolishness, but only in comparison to our human flaws. In his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 25, Paul says, "For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength." In this one sentence, Paul gives God relatable qualities. Sure, God is wiser and stronger than us, but for a moment, one can maybe empathize with a God with whom we share traits and to whose heights we can aspire. The letter continues on like this. Brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before God. It is because of God that you are in Christ Jesus, who has become for us wisdom from God. That is, our righteousness, holiness, and redemption. And to close the chapter, Paul quotes the prophet Jeremiah, "Let the one who boasts boast in the Lord." Paul tells us God chooses the foolish, weak, lowly, and despised. Those don't feel like characteristics we should be proud of. What I think Paul is trying to say is that if we are able to be God's chosen people, we must humble ourselves, trust in God more than our own wisdom, follow the example set by Jesus. Jesus made his place on earth among the outcasts, the people society deemed unworthy. These are the people we are called to be. Our love is to know no boundaries. It is to be reckless. It is to be sacrificial. Hymn number 2177 in The Faith We Sing isn't one that we sing very often, but I encourage you to look it up if you have it available. If not, the verses by Shirley Murray say this: "Wounded world that cries for healing, here we hold each other's pain. Wounded systems, bruised and bleeding, bear the load, the scars of strain. Dollars ration out compassion, hard decisions rule the day. Jesus of the healing spirit, free us to another way. Through our nation's spent frustration, through the corridors of stress, may there move a kindlier wisdom all may feel and all may bless. Tax and tithe are for a purpose, shared to shield the poor and weak. Past the symptoms of our sickness, let the voice of justice speak. Honor those whose loving spirit nurses hope, restores and heals. Towel and basin used in service like the Christ who comes and kneels. In the tending, in the mending, may we see the right and fair. In our common quest for wholeness, heal each other by our care." This song speaks to me deeply. We are frustrated as a nation in so many ways. So many broken systems, so much stress. This song talks about money, which is one of the most uncomfortable topics in general, but especially in regard to church. Taxes and tithing and their purpose are touchy subjects. But in reference to God's people who are in need, money is an abiding source of justice. And then it talks about Jesus, who lowered himself with towel and basin to wash the feet of his disciples, offering them wholeness and healing by sacrificing his life for them, for us. None of this is easy. We are inherently selfish. We want to have all the things: wisdom, influence, nobility, strength. But in God's wisdom, God sees that these selfish pursuits are the ways we prop ourselves up, brag and boast in our own accomplishments. The thing is, we don't achieve much of anything on our own. And when we truly seek to do God's work by becoming like Jesus, shielding the poor and weak, caring for each other by doing what is right and fair, we fulfill our purpose and won't have to say a thing. Our actions will speak for themselves, honoring and boasting in the Lord.